So it was Easter recently. At time of writing, at least. These videos take a while to make. Cut me some slack. Anyway, what do you think of when you hear the word Easter? Spring
Rebellion.
time, Easter bunny,
Rising.
candy, resurrection of Jesus for our Christian comrades, and of course, these little guys. I have great memories of Easter egg hunts with my family, and now that I have a young daughter of my own, I'm excited to give her the same experience. So imagine my surprise when we go to the neighborhood playground on Easter, and there are a handful of adults trying to keep kids from picking up a bunch of eggs. Seemed a little weird. So I asked one of them what was going on, and they said, better not to look inside. So naturally, I had to look inside. Here's what I found. Even for
That shit's been popping up in St. Louis a lot too. Patriot Front, they're basically a like Zoomer neo-Nazi group that puts up these weird, stupid ass little stickers. Funny thing is that like most of the memes and cartoons and stuff that they use, like they're actually written, well, drawn, I guess, in the 90s by this guy who uses the pen name A Wyatt Man, meaning a white man. And that just inane and stupid shit. But like people think that this stuff just popped up during the Trump administration. People don't know any better. But I've been studying fascism for quite a while, and most of this stuff actually goes back like immediately to the immediate end of the Vietnam War. You had all these demobilized veterans coming home, and they were mad because they thought that the country stabbed them in the back during this war, which wasn't the case. You had the anti-war protesters who were protesting because, for one, they didn't want to get drafted, and for two, they'd actually developed an anti-imperialist conscience. Yeah, they realized that the proper slogan and the proper method of action was not just to call for an end to the war in Vietnam, but to actually call for victory to the Vietnamese. That's why you have the most advanced Palestinian solidarity activists who are not just calling for a ceasefire or an end to the war in Gaza, but victory to the Palestinian people in their armed resistance, because revolutionaries know that victory and peace can only come when the armed forces of the people defeat the armed forces of the oppressor. That's why I laugh at people who say that there's no military solution to the Palestine-Israel question. It's backwards nonsense. The only solution is military.
someone who keeps tabs on these freaks for a living, this was a little shocking. We live in a quiet suburb. There's never any trouble. And yet here we were, standing somewhere designed for children to play, picking up Easter eggs with fascist rhetoric inside. And if you think—
because they're trying to appeal to, they're trying to appeal to kids. Like, for all the bullshit that the right wing talks about, leftists and trans activists grooming children, it's actually the right wing that's grooming children. Think about it.
This one little Easter egg is indicative of the whole fascist undercurrent in the US. Let's unpack what's going on here. I think we should start with a quick rundown of the Proud Boys and the other fascist groups in the US, because the state of official fascist organizations has changed over the last few years. The Proud Boys are an exclusively male hate group operating in the US and Canada. Besides—
sounds pretty gay, bro.
their deeply funny no girls allowed rule, these losers are big
Fucking He-Man Woman Haters Club.
proponents of the white genocide myth, the idea that white people, a designation that seems to fluctuate whenever convenient, are being replaced by encroaching hordes of nebulously ethnic babies. The group has been described as an alt-right fight club, conservative extremists, alt-light, overtly Islamophobic and misogynistic, and all too willing to embrace racists, anti-Semites, and bigots of all kinds.
Funny thing is that, like, the guy that was locked up after the January 6th debacle, Enrique Torres, he's Afro-Cuban.
They've engaged in political violence, attended the January 6th insurrection, and have been banned from pretty much every social media platform. Officially, the Canadian arm of the organization shut down after being rightly labeled a terrorist group. The Proud Boys were established in 2016, spearheaded by Gavin McInnes, one of the co-founders of Vice. Over the next few years, they went through a handful of leaders, the most recent being this guy, Enrique Tarrio, who in 2023 was sent—
Tarrio, not Torres.
sentenced to 22 years in prison for his role in the insurrection. Tario is a Miami Cuban, which tells you pretty much all you need to know as far as his politics goes. But it came out during his trial that he was also an informant for the feds, which led to a schism in the Proud Boys, who just couldn't believe that one of their own would work for the evil government.
Really? That's actually pretty common in fascist groups. Like, a lot of these clan groups are brought down by informers from within.
Gotta love how naive these people are. When the judge delivered the sentence, Tario begged the court, "Please show me mercy. I ask that you not take my 40s from me." That's how quickly the tough guy act crumbles. As of right now, the Proud Boys seem to be in disarray. They get kicked from every platform they try to organize on, a bunch of their members got locked up after January 6th, and they seem more than a little spooked that they got infiltrated by the feds. A handful of
They were just infiltrated. They made the fucking federal agent their leader. That speaks more to their intelligence than anything.
state branches have said they won't acknowledge any national leadership, and they're just kind of doing their own thing. So with any luck, the organization will die out. That doesn't mean their remaining members aren't dangerous though, so keep that in mind. Besides the Proud Boys, we've got the Oath Keepers, the 3%ers, Patriot Front, and Patriot Prayer. The 3%ers are the oldest group on the list. The organization was founded in 2008. If you live in Texas like I do, you've probably seen 3%er bumper stickers. The name comes from the assumption that 3% of a given country's population is enough to overthrow the government. The group was officially dissolved in 2021 after January 6th, and you'll start to notice a trend there. A bunch of its members were thrown in jail, and once again, Canada labeled them a terrorist group. Like the Proud Boys, local branches of the 3%ers still remain active.
They always have that one token black guy. Look at him. Like, if you're a black person, would you feel comfortable going out to the woods and shooting guns with these people? This guy has half of a Confederate flag. This guy has half of a fucking Confederate flag on his patch. The flag of the country that literally enslaved your ancestors. And you're going out to the woods with a bunch of white people to shoot guns and do a variety of other things. What type of black person would do that?
Still,
just offer yourself up to the fucking Klan. Don't make them have to hunt you down. Just go voluntarily. Put yourself in their grasp. Let them do whatever the fuck they want to you. Take yourself out to the woods with them. These are your brothers in arms. How quickly they'll turn on you.
Remain active. The Oath Keepers are the next oldest, founded just 1 year after the 3%ers. This is another anti-government but pro-constitution group. And
the scary part is that he's probably one of the most loyal men. There will be no questions on morality for him. Yeah, he's happy to be part of the team. He's happy to be able to hang out with all these weird-ass white people. He's happy. He's glad that massless people accept him. So, of course, yeah, he's definitely going to be their most loyal. If they tell him to kill, he's going to kill without question. That's what makes Uncle Tom's so fucking dangerous.
And tellingly, its membership is 2/3 former military and police, and 10%.
Yeah, these people are probably the most dangerous. We laugh at them, we call them Meal Team 6 or Weekend Warriors, but compared to the forces of the left, these people are definitely more ready than we are. That's why I laugh at leftists who are Civil War tomorrow, revolution now. It's not going to be a revolution, it's going to be a bloodbath. You got one half of leftists who are fucking mortified, petrified of guns, and then you got the other half who thinks that having a gun automatically makes you a revolutionary. Both are wrong.
Active duty. Best guesses as to their numbers hover around 5,000 people, but the org itself claims to have a membership of 38,000. These thugs are known for showing up at protests, political rallies, and whatever events they determine to be woke armed.
They've actually banned that colorway of Fred Perry. You cannot order a black and yellow Fred Perry to the United States because of the fucking Proud Boys. Sucks if you're a Steelers fan, but I've always hated that. I've always hated that colorway. I've got a few Perrys. My favorite one is my white, red, and blue one.
With guns and with their faces covered. Once again,
I had a red one, but I got kind of chonky, and I can't wear it no more.
A number of their higher-ups are serving over a decade in prison for seditious conspiracy, though this group seems to have been more resilient than their cowardly counterparts, choosing not to shutter their operation. In fact, according to a data breach, as of 2021, 48 state and local officials and 10 sitting state lawmakers were listed among the group's members. This would suggest a different approach from the other fascist cells, choosing.
Yeah, so they have no problem with like integrating themselves into the existing state power. This is another problem that leftists have an issue, like a problem that leftists have an issue with. This is another issue that leftists have. Like, no, I'm not saying we should all drop everything that we're doing, forswear our revolutionary ideals, and all go run for the fucking board of aldermen. But like, these are trenches of struggle, especially like boards of education, which in the South are currently waging a literal war on trans students. Like, never forget Next Benedict. Never forget Next Benedict, who was failed by their school district. And these reactionaries, Moms for Liberty, all these people, they know that leftists are not going to contest these elections. So in rural districts, it's going to be a clean sweep, and then they can prosecute their projects. So if you're a leftist and you have a shot at winning, by all means, do it. Because I would rather have a friend in office, even one who I disagree with, than an open enemy that can actually hurt me and fuck my life up. This does not mean that I'm saying that all Maoists should enter electoral politics, but I do think that we need to start being more strategic about these things instead of just like being so dogmatic, because dogma gets you killed.
To pursue electoral infiltration as opposed to strictly acts of terror. The final two organizations significant enough to mention are Patriot Front and Patriot Prayer. They all love this patriot stuff, and we'll get to that in a bit. Patriot Prayer was founded in 2016 in the suburbs of Washington State. Suburbs, that's another thing we'll talk about. Their whole shtick is to harass liberal and left-wing groups in the Pacific Northwest and get in street fights with anti-fascists, which...
It's called training. Like, yeah, these people actually go around and they pick fights with anti-fascists because they see it as training themselves for the wars to come. God, I need to read another fantasy series besides The Song of Ice and Fire. But yeah, they're making themselves ready for the wars to come.
Which have often been...
And no, I'm not saying that you should go out and fucking by yourself go pick a fight with somebody that could easily kick your ass, because I don't want to hear about anybody coming up dead because of something I said on stream. How bad is dogmatism in the left? It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Like every time something happens, you have all of these armchair quarterbacks and armchair generals that come out with their hot takes, and these people have no experience. Like, people were saying that the encampment should do this, the encampment should do that, the encampment should be armed. Yeah, it's good. Take your guns onto a college campus. That's totally not going to end with you in handcuffs and go into prison for the rest of your natural life. Many universities are private property, and even state universities, even in the South, don't allow for weapons to be carried onto their campuses. But by all means, show up with your fucking 9 that you bought at the fucking sporting goods store yesterday and see how well that goes for you. Matter of fact, don't even conceal it. Just wear it openly on your hip. Go to Columbia in New York City, a gun-friendly city, obviously. Go to Columbia, or go to CUNY, go to CCNY with your gun. Play hard-ass revolutionary. Che Guevara come again. See how well that turns out for you.
Filmed and uploaded to inspire other budding fascists to get involved more physically. According to an informant, there are only about 15 of these guys. They've just been really good at making a name for themselves because typically fascists are cowards who will scatter when it looks like a fight is coming. Finally, the youngest org on the list, Patriot Front. This is another small organization, but I bet you've heard more about them than some of the others. Where the rest play coy and beat around the bush, these guys are explicit in their fascism.
It's like they borrow some Maoist aesthetics there. The road flares. Maoists love road flares.
We've even got the
I think I have a few in my closet over there.
fascies as part of their logo. If I had to guess which group would end up being the most influential in the fascist movement, it would be Patriot Front. For a bunch of reactionaries, they're pretty good at branding, combining traditional Americana with fascist symbolism. In every successful past fascist movement, that's been a key element. It takes on the flavor of whatever culture it boils up in. You've probably heard the quote, "When fascism comes to America, it'll be wrapped in the flag and carrying a cross." Case in point. Patriot Front is another group that punches above its weight in terms of membership. Best estimates put the number at just 200. But they accounted for 82% of all incidents in 2021 that involved the distribution of fascist, racist, or otherwise bigoted propaganda in the US. If you zoom out a bit, this is all kind of interesting. You've got your fraternity, your militias, your street thugs, and your propagandists. That's a pretty well-developed fascist undercurrent, even if, for now, they seem to be licking their wounds. What happens when they start organizing across the different groups? Speculation aside, the important thing to realize about American fascism is that it's not confined to this handful of explicitly fascist groups. It's become mainstream among the American right. Let me give you an example. Here's an ex-military business owner back during peak COVID.
But it's not going to be peaceful much longer, okay? And this isn't a threat. I'm not a criminal. I've never been a criminal. But I'm telling you that good citizens are going to turn into real concerned and revolutionary citizens real soon. And nobody else is going to say that. I'm probably the only person that has the balls to say what I'm saying right now. That we're building, we're organizing, and we'll work with law enforcement or without law enforcement. But you won't stop us when time comes because our families are starving. And if you don't hear the seriousness of my voice, I hope you open your ears and you absolutely listen to what I'm saying. Because this is a warning for what's coming. It's not going to be peaceful much longer. It's not going to be rah-rah. It's not going to be speeches. It's not going to be gathered outside saying a Pledge of Allegiance. It's not going to be waving flags. It's going to be real. When you've seen the things that I've seen, I went to war for this country. I've seen the ugliest, dirtiest part of humanity. I've been in combat, and I never want to go back again. But I'm telling you what, I will to save this country. If it has to be against our own citizens, it will happen. And there's a million people like me, and you won't stop us.
Sounds pretty bad, but this...
The funny thing is, like, this guy is actually a soft fascist. Like, hard fascists, like the Timothy McVeigh fascists, they consider that the United States government has been, like, captured by enemies, shadowy people, George Soros types. And they actually are revolutionary in that they want to literally topple the United States government. So this guy is actually soft. He's still talking about, like, saving the country. Like, the real hardcore Hitlerite types, they actually want to destroy this country. I guess they have a little in common with the left there.
This is exactly the type of person we saw at the Capitol riot.
And another thing about, like, the Pacific Northwest, there's this guy named Harold Covington. He wrote a bunch of shitty books that I've read all of them. I've made studying fascists, I guess, a hobby of mine. It is good to know your enemy. But he actually is encouraging white people to move to the Pacific Northwest using the hook that it's still the whitest part of the country, especially like eastern Washington, Idaho, Montana, the rural parts of Oregon, even Northern California. I saw a map that he had drawn of the supposed Northwest American Republic, I think he wants to call it. But he basically wants to establish an Israel for white people. And like in this map, he even has a chunk of British Columbia. But he wants to establish a sort of Israel for white people where nobody of color can live. No black people, no Mexicans, no Jews, nobody but pure-blooded Aryans can live. And a lot of people have actually heeded his call and have moved over there. Not enough, of course, to initiate a protracted people's war against the United States government, but like hardcore fascists are actually like thinking about that. Like they're actually migrating, uprooting their whole lives and moving to little tracts of land in far-flung reaches of the Pacific Northwest, and they're honing their skills. They're learning how to live off the land. They're learning how to hunt, shoot. Many of them that come from the South already know how to do that shit. But like, yeah, and they're teaching their kids that shit. They're grooming their kids to despise the United States government, to despise multiculturalism, to despise diversity, to despise, I guess you could call it nowadays, wokeness. And yeah, you got an entire generation of terrorists being raised in the Pacific Northwest. Scary shit.
All the fascist groups were there. At least 700 members of their organizations got arrested. But they were a drop in the bucket compared to what most people would call average conservatives. Only around 13% of those charged in the Capitol riots were formal members of militant groups like the Proud Boys, the Three Percenters, and the Oath Keepers. The remaining 87% were a mix of garden variety Trump supporters and conservatives LARPing as revolutionaries. The overwhelming majority of people who stormed the Capitol were just average Republicans. And you can tell, they didn't look like the typical far-right extremists. They were typically older, with around 2/3 being over 35. They were much less likely to be unemployed. A full 14% of the attendees.
The title of Weimar America is kind of misleading because that would mean that there's an organized and strong left. I mean, Weimar Germany had an organized and strong left, and we still see who won the battles. So, my take on the United States left is that it could definitely be a lot more organized. I'm a DSA member because it's the largest left organization in the United States, but there still is a lot to be desired. Like, a lot of these people seem to think that electoral politics and middling reformism are still the way to go. But you also have a lot of communist revolutionaries who have come to the same conclusion that I have and are joining DSA. And you also have the NPC, which is dominated by people who can be broadly defined as revolutionary leftists. So shit's changing. And people, the thing is, like, people don't learn through books. Okay, it's good to study theory, but people don't learn, they don't come to communist conclusions solely through reading books. People come through conclusions, especially Americans. Like, people think that America is an anti-intellectual country. It's not. Like, we have our own way of thinking about things, but we are extremely pragmatic people, okay? Like, if a theory isn't going to feed us or be anything, like, be useful to us, we really don't have anything to, like, we have nothing to do with it. So I wouldn't say that America is a country of Neanderthals, but it's weird. Like, an American will study if he or she or they think that it will benefit them. But, like, rarefied intellectual discussion, a lot of Americans don't have time for that. But if you demonstrate to an American that communism is in their interests, or if you, better yet, if you don't even use the word communism, you just talk about workers' control of society, a lot of people will be down for it. Like, Americans are very pragmatic people. Americans are also a very selfish people. And communists have the right to be selfish. Like, why are we arguing that the working class should be in full control of society? Because we are working class. Like, you don't have the bourgeoisie saying that the worker should be in control of society because they're in control of society. No ruling class is going to give up its power voluntarily. It has to be wrenched away from them. But I digress.
These charged were business owners, and 30% were white-collar workers.
Do I think the DSA has been infiltrated by feds? It's the largest socialist organization in the country. There's probably a dude with a badge or two creeping around. But we should learn from the Bolsheviks. Like, they actually put those people to use. I'm not saying that we should elect them to the NPC, but, like, people like Malinovsky, like, you can take these people and you can know that they're informers, or you can know that they're fuck-ups. And you can use them as, like, educational devices. Of course, if you find out about them, you should definitely expel them, because we won't go very far if we allow snitches and informers and agents provocateurs to dominate our organization. But yeah, there's probably more than a few pigs in DSA. There's probably more than a few pigs in PSL. There's probably more than a few pigs in any left-wing organization of notable size. But we shouldn't hamstring ourselves and allow ourselves to have our efficacy reduced by a few pigs that may or may not have infiltrated the organization.
These aren't normal far-right extremist demographics. These are just Republican constituency demographics.
So basically, if a person has skills or resources or something like that, like, we shouldn't immediately think that they're pigs. But, like, if somebody is trying to encourage you to engage in illegal activity, like, if they're offering you resources to commit a listed felony, yeah, that person's probably a pig or an idiot. Either way, they're no good for you. But if somebody is genuine, like, yeah, you should definitely make use of them. How do you differentiate between the two? I mean, common sense, I guess.
That's why fascists target the suburbs, as we mentioned earlier. The aggrieved white middle class is ripe for radicalization. The average American conservative wants to overthrow the government to establish some weird anti-woke theocracy based on a mythologized version of the past. And don't
Yeah, and this is the case in Germany too. Like people think that average ordinary white workers who make $10 an hour are the basis of fascism. In some instances, that can be true. Like white people in the United States, they can really break either way. But the main bread and butter in terms of people with regards to the fascist movement is probably going to be like your downwardly mobile petty bourgeoisie. They have all the bitterness, all of the anger, and they don't have a proletarian class outlook. They don't see Latino people, they don't see black people as their class siblings. They see them as their class enemies. They see them as people to be exploited or people to be held down and kept down. That's the difference. But your average white proletarian, like people saw those frat boys rioting at Old Miss the other day, and they're like, oh, there's the white working class. Like, bruh, that's not your working class. The white working class cannot afford to join fucking fraternities. Like, do you have any idea that how much money, how much disposable income you or your parents have to have for you to be in a fucking fraternity? A lot. Your average fucking Billy Bob from Tupelo, Mississippi is not going to be attending Ole Miss and joining a fucking fraternity. The people that rioted at Ole Miss, both in 1962 and the other day, those are the sons of doctors, old cotton money, oil entrepreneurs, gas station owners, car dealers, corporate lawyers, high-level politicians, timber plantation owners. Those are the people who did that shit.
take my word for it. They're literally advocating for it in their magnum opus, Project 2025, which we made a video about.
Oh, so that's not true, Tunega. Let them talk about politics and you will see if they are real. Pigs don't have good politics. Pigs read our shit all the time. Like, they literally invented during the 70s new communist movement, basically proto-Maoists, they literally invented an organization called the Ad Hoc Committee. They literally made up a proto-Maoist organization specifically to sow discord and chaos in the revolutionary movement. And you also had a couple of federal informants. I highly recommend the book Revolution in the Air by Max Elbaum, where he talks about all this stuff. He talks about like the rise of all these various new communist groups. I'm going to give it a reread probably in a couple months. Maybe I'll even talk about it on stream with you guys. Maybe I'll even read some excerpts from it for you guys. But it was a group called the Red Star Collective. Like everything was underwritten by the FBI. The T-shirts, the propaganda, the travel. Yeah. And some genuine revolutionaries actually joined this federally instigated organization. But no, feds are not as stupid as many leftists seem to think they are. Like these people are literally trained to engage in espionage. It's basically what they are, domestic spies. Their job is to find people who are a threat or can be a threat to the United States government and the rule of the rich ruling class in this country, find out who these people are, and neutralize them. They neutralize them through many ways. They can even turn your comrades against you. And I laugh at people who routinely like accuse people of being feds because cop jacketing, also known as bad jacketing, is actually a favorite tool in the playbook of the feds. Like they love to sow discord and turn people against each other by accusing revolutionaries who may have accumulated a bit of clout or who have resources that many organizations may depend on. Like they like that shit. Like they will literally neutralize you by turning your comrades against you by telling them that you're a federal agent. And especially in the internet era, rumors and shit like that are very, very easy to spread and very, very, very hard to stop because many leftists, they don't investigate shit. All they care about is clout. All they care about is playing their little bullshit Game of Thrones. Never mind the fact that we don't have a throne to sit on. But they love rumor mongering. So but instead of investigating, they'll say, oh, this high level PSL guy in my city, he hangs out with cops with no evidence whatsoever. And people who dislike PSL or DSA or the Green Party or any of these other groups, they'll take this shit and they'll run with it. Why? Because it serves their little sectarian purpose. And it makes them feel important. It makes them feel powerful. The left is basically a giant fucking high school. That's why it has little to no political power in this country.
A while back. Okay, why is this happening? Conservatives have always been reactionary, but what's changed in the last decade or so? Well, there are a few factors. We'll start with a culture war issue, the white genocide myth. The Great Replacement theory is a classic among fascists.
I love how these people are like acting like somebody is brainwashing white people to want to fuck black and brown people, okay? Like, I took a DNA test. I have 10% European ancestry. That's actually low by African American standards. Most average black person in this country has between 15 and 25% European ancestry. 25% is the equivalent of a grandparent, okay? Like, nobody held a gun to a plantation owner's head and was like, you have to fuck this black woman. He did it because it made him feel powerful and because he could. Nobody is holding a gun to white people's heads and making them fuck black people, Mexicans, and Asians. So if everybody's brown by the year 2250, if JT's descendants look like me, that's nobody's fault. Like, people like to fuck each other. And loving versus Virginia is a thing. Interracial sex in marriage is legal now. Like, nobody is forcing white people to fuck minorities. Nobody. But again, these people have a victimization fetish. They think that their genes are the best. They really aren't. They think that their genes deserve to be protected and that having blonde hair and blue eyes is something that you should actually be proud of. You should be proud of the fact that random genetic lottery gave you blonde hair and blue eyes. Because I guarantee you, if you could go back to the year 1150 AD or BCE, we're woke here. If you go back to the year 1150, you might have people that look like me in your ancestry. You might have people that look like JT in your ancestry. You might have people that look like fucking Haas in your ancestry. You might have people who look like Barack Obama in your ancestry. Okay? Like, do you have any idea how many fucking ancestors you have between 1150 and 2024? But yeah, every single one of your ancestors had blonde hair and blue eyes. Every single one. It's delusional. It's stupid. But people are willing to kill for this delusional stupidity.
It asserts that there is a plot, which really means they think it's a Jewish thing, that the white race and white culture, whatever that means, are disappearing because of immigration from majority non-white countries.
Who's bringing the immigrants here? Like, why are immigrants coming here? Well, for one, the United States has made their countries like places that are not very good places to live. Like, destabilized, starting coups, launching coups in Haiti, Nicaragua, well, trying to in Nicaragua, trying to in Venezuela, destabilizing these countries. Like, your average person does not want to leave the place where their ancestors' bones lie, where they were born and raised, where everybody speaks the same language. Your average person does not want to leave their ancestral home to come to the United States. They have to, because the United States has stolen their resources and brought them here. Because the United States has turned their countries into bomb-cratered wastelands like substantial parts of Laos and Cambodia. So of course they're going to come here. Nobody's going to sit and watch as their family starves to death. Look at what NAFTA did to Mexico. The lives of tens of thousands of Mexican corn farmers ruined by cheap American grain. But yes, it's all the immigrants' fault. That's why I laugh at these black people who are like, oh, these immigrants are coming up here. They get $1,500 a month. No, they don't. No, they don't. Like, you're literally falling for divide and conquer shit. Like, some of these fascists, they have no problem appealing to black people. They know that we have many, many grievances with the government. But instead of uniting on a class basis, they try to pit us against people who are in a worse, fucked up situation than we are. They try to pit us against people who should be our natural class brethren and sisterin and datherin, so that they can achieve their own goals. And when they achieve their own goals, they're going to fuck us over. The history of black people in this country is making alliances with people, and then after these people get what they want, we get fucked. When I say these people, I mean white people, by the way. Every time we've tried to unite with white people in this country, they always get what they want off our backs, and then we get fucked. Does that mean that we should not work with them in the communist movement? No. Like, I'm not a racial separatist by any means. But I just find it funny that so many miseducated black people are still falling for this shit. They're falling for this xenophobic, know-nothingite bullshit, when a cursory reading of history will demonstrate to you that whenever you orient towards the most reactionary segments of white people, they're going to fuck you in the ass.
Fascists believe this will cause some general persecution of white people, because of course they can't imagine the world being run without one race subjugating another. This is the theory that motivated the Christchurch shooter Brenton Tarrant and the El Paso shooter Patrick Crusius, and it's both unfounded and blatantly fascist. You won't be surprised to learn that this theory has a historical trajectory that starts in World War II, runs through the European fascist movements, the American Nazi Party, and has now found a home among the majority of the Republican electorate. Here's a clip of Tucker Carlson endorsing the theory on Fox, calling it by name, and likening it to eugenics.
Joe Biden just said it, to change the racial mix of the country. That's the reason, to reduce the political power of people whose ancestors lived here and dramatically increase the proportion of Americans newly arrived from the third world. And then Biden went further. He said that non-white DNA is the, quote, source of our strength.
It is. All right, let's leave JT for a little bit. Haas got run off of Emory's campus during the whole encampment thing. And of course, he's going to play the victim. My full speech delivered at Emory University has been recovered. While claiming my speech was anti-Semitic, hateful, and racist, CARE, Council of American Islamic Relations, he defines them as pro-Free Syrian Army liberals, refused to release the footage because it shows how baseless that claim is. Luckily, we obtained it from a Zoom participant who recorded it live. As you can see, I was able to deliver my speech in full without interruption. Total conquest and domination of libturds. Only after I made my closing remark did some crybaby bitches in the back start heckling and crying. When the CARE affiliate came on stage to prevent further escalation after I responded, you can hear him say, "This is not what we agreed to," meaning everyone knew I was speaking and was scheduled 2 weeks beforehand. The only reason there was an issue at all is because I defended my colleague, Jackson Hinkle, before the event. Some meth addicts from outside campus, likely Fed-affiliated, distributed leaflets calling Jackson a fascist because of his pro-Russia, pro-China, and pro-Assad views. Anti-imperialists should not be supporting people spreading Radio Free America, Uyghur genocide propaganda, and Azovite nonsense. Okay, so his notion is that, yes, the Azov Brigade is a fascist organization. Nobody's going to deny that. They literally have it right there in their insignia. But you cannot just start calling people crybaby bitches, libturds, and meth addicts, and then expect to not be called a fascist. Like, both of you are fascists. Both Has doesn't have an organization. But both groups of people are fascists. Oh yeah, the meth feds. Because Norm Finkelstein, they actually invited, the Platypus Affiliated Society actually invited me to be on a panel with him. I turned it down because I'm already enough of a meme. I don't need to be more of a meme because I was on a panel hosted by a group called the Platypus Affiliated Society. That group, it sounds like a fucking cult. Anyways, despite the fact that he audibly claimed it was because of comments made by the speaker before me. Norm waited until it was time for him to speak to leave because he was waiting to yell at Grayson, who only returned to the auditorium after I was done about Ahmad's speech, mildly praising October 7th. So, there is an unedited version of his remarks. Let's see what happens.
And your attempts to cancel people.
So, Dr. Unicola says, so Haas showed up with Hinkle to a college protest to insult them directly for not reaching out to MAGA. He's been working overtime to convince y'all that he wasn't booed off stage, going so far as filtering out the audience to hide it. What a fucking weasel. So, they added the unedited audio back in.
Are in vain. You have not done the work to convince the American people.
I love how this guy takes himself so seriously. Like he actually thinks that he's a revolutionary leader. The students ran him off campus. That's what happened.
Of the justice of the Palestinian cause. You isolate yourselves from them and alienate yourself from them.
Like he's literally trying to get Palestine solidarity activists, many of which are communists or some type of leftist, to reach out to reactionary Trump supporters.
This isn't what we were.
Hey, don't touch me.
Hey, don't touch me. Like this dude really thinks he's a fucking celebrity. And he just slumps off like a little cunt. Instead of solidarity, Haas spent his speech complaining that people were mean to his buddy on Twitter and accusing protesters of being just as bad as Zionists. That and rehashed LaRouche anti-Semitism about Anglo-Saxon financing. Yeah, the LaRoucheites are like literally obsessed with the British royal family.
I would like to say,
they think that the British royal family controls America. The British royal family doesn't even control England. But, yeah.
like to say,
Haas is like the American Mussolini. He's not even the American Mussolini. Mussolini had power. Haas has none. If you take away his fucking stream and you take away his Twitter account, same thing with Jackson Hinkle, these people would be nobodies. They'd be forced to get real jobs.
shame on those who have reproduced the propaganda, the imperialist and Zionist propaganda and slander against my comrade Jackson Hinkle. Shame on those.
Like, these people are so fucking caught up in themselves. Like, this is about Palestine. 30,000 plus people are fucking dead, and all you could think about is your little fucking twink friend. I understand his pussy go hard, but, bruh, you're standing at a fucking university campus. You're standing on a fucking university campus. You're supposed to be talking about Palestine. Focus on Palestine. Why the fuck are you centering a white dude over the tens of thousands of Palestinians who have been murdered, 14,000 of which are children? What's wrong with you?
Those who conspire to prevent him from speaking both at this university and other universities. You are just as much culpable in the crimes of the Zionists as those who materially give their dollars and money to them. Shame on you. The problem with your booing, students, you are a minority. The silent majority of this country is not persuaded by you. Your attempts to silence people and your attempts to cancel people are in vain.
But you listen to Haas, like you'll swear that he gave the second fucking version of the April thesis. This guy can't even talk to an audience. That's why they don't want him there.
You have not done the work.
What the fuck have you done besides talk on the fucking internet? Like, what have you done? I know, I'm a streamer too. Okay? Like, yeah, I'm here doing the same shit that Haas does, but like, I actually touch grass. He went to one fucking Trump rally and got laughed at. Like, if I'm off work and there's a fucking protest, I'm at it. And I'm not just at it, like, I actually offer my services. I actually offer my big, beautiful black body to the organizers. Why? Because I'm a communist. And that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to stand with the people and struggle. This guy is entirely self-absorbed. How many protests, how many demonstrations, how many encampments has Haas been to? How many has Hinkle been to? They're too busy riding around holding fucking orgies with Alexander Dugin and that weird-ass Shangyu kid who actually used to be my friend once. He's not my friend anymore because he decided he wanted to hang out with LaRouchites over Maoists, but I digress.
To convince the American people of the justness of the Palestinian cause, you isolate. I would like to.
Man, get Destiny on that stage for the ultimate nightmare blunt rotation. And then, because he was so butthurt, he does this. The painful truth about student protests. It is not necessarily my intention to completely dismiss the student protests, but for well-meaning and good faith activists, it is time for a reality check. These protests will amount to nothing. Nothing at all for as long as continue rant. Let's learn something useful. Police formations. Police violence is usually not random. It is deliberate and serves strategic purposes. Cops in major cities receive training on crowd control and managing mass protests. There are often signs of incoming escalation that you can spot if you know what to look for. Here, we introduce some common police formations. This is not a comprehensive list. We encourage people to think about police objectives and caution against relying only on identifying visual similarities. Always maintain situational awareness. Keep your eyes on the cops and exercise your own judgment. Ask yourself, what do the police want to accomplish? Do they want to mass arrest you, or do they want you to get the fuck out? How would they accomplish it? So this is a demonstration of the crossbow tactic. And of course, the video ended because the police came running through. So, kettle. A kettle is when multiple lines of police surround a crowd from all sides, letting no one in or out. In some cases, they may selectively let out, such as fascists and no one else. This is often a precursor to mass arrests, often of hundreds of people. The only way out of a kettle is through. You cannot leave a kettle without physically charging through a line of cops. Holding a crowd in place is different from, and in some sense opposite of, Toronto Police Service's more usual objective to disperse and clear people out. Both the G20 in Toronto and the January 20th Trump inauguration protests in Washington, D.C., for example, were large events of international significance with multiple, more spread out protests happening. In these situations, the police may want to prevent protesters from running riot and regrouping if they simply break up a march. The objectives of a kettle are to hold a crowd in place and carry out mass arrests. Line, most common formation. This is probably the most common police formation. A line allows the police to control space while also reinforcing each other and providing the numbers to quickly execute arrests of people on the front lines if needed. More spontaneous arrests often happen when protesters are within reach of the police line. Controlling the space may mean blocking off streets or other areas. It may also mean moving together to shove a crowd backwards, whether to contain or disperse them. Often, police will try to ensure that protesters are only one side of the police line. On the other side, they may stage vehicles, horses, and other squads on foot. They will usually try to take arrestees behind the line as quickly as possible to make it harder for the crowd to de-arrest. Police objectives when they are in a line are to contain a crowd and control the space, direct the crowd's movement and push people back, and provide each other backup to carry out arrests. A wedge. A wedge comes out when police intend to break through a crowd. Protesters can also use wedges, by the way, namely to break kettles. This is what the old Anglo-Saxons would call a swinehead. Okay? It's basically it's like a bullet. You have a mob of people here, or you've got a police line, and your bullet goes through. It allows the cops to concentrate their force at one specific point, making it easier for them to part people away from each other. Note that wedges don't always aim for the center of a crowd. They will likely go for whichever point in the front line appears the weakest. So if you're trying to break out of a police kettle or you're trying to break through a police line, you should do the same. Pick the little cop, pick the skinny cop, pick the cop that can be easily bowled over, and run through. Police may want to get through people who are in the way of something. For example, if you're obstructing a fascist march or an encampment clearing. They may also just want to split up a mass of people and force protesters to disperse. What are my thoughts on queer nationalism? Queer people are not a nation. There's no such thing as queer nationalism. Like, am I a member of the gay nation now? It's silly. Not everybody gets a nationalism. Nations are a specifically defined thing. Like, what is the common language of gay people? Where is the common territory where we have been exploited and oppressed as gays? It's weird. Gay people are not a nation. It sounds like some postmodern bullshit that somebody dreamed up in the middle of a fucking acid trip. Anyways, to resist the wedge, you should reinforce each other to resist the push. But be mindful that in a large shoving match, cops may suddenly pull someone out of the crowd for an arrest. Did I just bark? No, I did not just bark. Do I look like a dog to you? I already talked about the crossbow. Did I just bark? Do y'all think I barked? So, of course, Kendrick Lamar, body Drake. Drake should go somewhere and keep his fucking mouth shut. Honestly. If this happened at Ole Miss, this woman is braver than any U.S. Marine. Lizzo! 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 Fuck! They're calling on Lizzo. You better! Fuck you! Look at fucking Colonel Sanders right here. Not doing fuck anything. You, bitch! Again, braver than any U.S. Marine. This was in my city today. A driver decided he wanted to drive through a pro-Palestinian protest, and hilarity ensues. So he punched the air, he punched his car door, and then he got punched in the head. I love my city. That's right, get back in your car and drive away. This is why protesters must be armed. Start no shit, take no shit. Okay, so I had something to say about that, because I'm sick of hearing this. Is it bad to be armed? No. But first of all, you need to research gun laws in your area. St. Louis is not New York City, and New York City is not Chicago nor St. Louis. These encampments are on university campuses. Most universities don't allow people to carry weapons on their property. Secondly, people need training and discipline instilled in them so they don't just open fire in a crowd of people or shoot people for yelling at them. Thirdly, many organizers do not want people with weapons at their protests for a variety of reasons. You should respect that. Join an organization like Socialist Rifle Organization first. Don't just show up to protest with guns you bought yesterday because you are going to fuck around, do something stupid, and end up in prison for the rest of your stupid little life. Or you're going to end up getting yourself and a bunch of other people who didn't sign up for that shit killed by the police. Think before you do things. Like, nobody is going to die. I don't want to hear about you dying because you wanted to play fucking hard ass. So many Cuban exiles worked for the U.S. that at one point, Miami's CIA station was the city's largest employer. Earlier today, George Washington University instructed staff to hang this giant American flag behind the encampment. Why would you do that? This is how the encampment responded. These young people are awe-inspiring. Former police chief advocated for Maoism in the U.S.?
Really reluctantly, because I reluctantly came to the conclusion, and I have to say really reluctantly, because I had really believed always in the collegial, meditative, discussive experiment. I really believed that, and I do believe in a democracy totally. I mean, I do believe that change is possible. But I also believe that property rights are sacred, that the power of the dominant class is not easily shared. And I came to reluctantly accept the observations of Mao Zedong that more or less permanent revolution is needed in order to secure effective social change. It's a horrible thing for a police chief to say.
What the fuck? Anthony Bozza was a retired police officer who served in the New York City Police Department from 1953 to 1976. At the New York Police Department, he initially served as a detective in the undercover unit, the Bureau of Special Services and Investigation. One of them infiltrated Malcolm X's security detail, rising to the rank of assistant chief and commander of the Bronx. Bozza was controversial to say the least, but he was looked on positively as a reformer within the ranks. Bro, that's fucking wild. A challenging hypothetical question for progressives who oppose ever calling the police on nonviolent protesters. The year is 2026. Abortion is the hot button issue of the moment. One night, in a coordinated action, pro-life student groups at Harvard, Columbia, Princeton, University of California, Berkeley, and University of California, Los Angeles break into the administrative buildings and establish an occupation. Their demands, citing complicity in mass death, they won't leave until their respective medical schools stop teaching how to perform abortions. Attempts at negotiation fail. They won't budge even after being warned of potential disciplinary and legal consequences. They aren't doing any damage to the building or threatening anyone's safety, but their presence is a significant disruption to administrators and a minor disruption to students and faculty. In that case, do you still believe that administrators ought never call the police in order to clear the building, no matter how long the occupation lasts? Only the people have the right to rebel. The pro-Palestine protests are dope. Anti-abortion protests are not dope. So yes, anti-abortion protests should be suppressed. They should be removed with extreme prejudice. Pro-Palestine protests should spread. The revolutionaries have the right to rebel. Reactionaries do not have the right to rebel. It's that simple. This is how China is helping Africa, by the way. Everybody's talking about China is helping Africa. China is building beautiful roads. China is building stadiums. China is helping the Africans develop their productive forces. Let's see the reality on the ground. How is that beneficial to Africans? First of all, why are these dudes just sitting on the fucking ground letting this other grown-ass man whip and kick them, for one? And then for two, how is this beneficial to Africans? And of course, you had some stupid motherfucker who was like, is this guy Chinese? How do you know he's Chinese? Because he's speaking Chinese. Not sure what China has to do with this, to be honest. Yeah, I guess the guy could be Singaporean. He could be Taiwanese. But chances are, just by numbers alone, this guy is probably a citizen of the People's Republic of China. And here he is, whipping the people of Africa. This like saying, not sure what this has to do with Europe, to be honest. European colonizer literally whipping Africans. Is this man Chinese? Does he work for the government or a special enterprise? What is the source for this clip? Like, why? If this was a white dude doing this, you ought to be denouncing Europe, denouncing America. But because the guy is Chinese, you want to do whataboutism. You want to, well, actually, no. These people are literally being fucking whipped. And you're trying to, like, these are the types of motherfuckers that sold their own people into slavery. It's people like this that are the main reason. The white man isn't going to do what you don't let him do, okay? The white man is not going to do anything that you do not let him do. It's people like this that sell our nations to foreigners European, Chinese, Japanese, America, whatever, and then act like they've done something good. You literally sell your own people for $5 or more consideration for yourself. And then you have the nerve to go under the handle, Africa will unite. Under who? Is this what you want? Like, your own people are being fucking whipped? Yeah, I have this account blocked. They probably did something stupid to me or irritated me. Is this what you want? If this were your brother, and your sister, or your dad, or your uncle being whipped, literally whipped and kicked, I think you'd be singing a different tune. But because you don't know these guys, you don't give a fuck. Fucking Toms, man. I can't stand dingites. WashU wants to pay tattletales to film alongside campus police tonight. They want to recruit their little Gestapo. Ole Miss is literally called this to honor how enslaved people had to refer to the slave owner's wife. Some people think it means Mississippi. It doesn't. Black students account for less than 12% of the students there, even though Mississippi is the most heavily black state in the country. But keep telling me how diversity, equity, and inclusion made them do it. Eddie Smith says that my biggest fear isn't that they kill me, is that they throw me in jail. Bro, you've been picked up and slammed on your head too much. Throw me jail for 27 years like Nelson Mandela. You're not Nelson Mandela. You're Eddie Liger Smith. What type of nickname is Liger anyways? They're not going to throw you, like, what have you done? You haven't done anything important. You're not a revolutionary leader. You're a kid who talks on TikTok and gets slammed on the head. They're not going to throw you in jail for 27 years, bro. You're not black. You're a white dude. They're not going to arrest you. You can talk all the commie bullshit that you want. You can talk whatever the fuck you want because ultimately they're not going to see you as a threat. And then you're not even a communist. You're not. You're not a communist. Like, you literally did a TikTok video talking about how fucking Laos and Vietnam and the PRC. Like, you're a capitalist. You're defending capitalism. Why would they throw you in jail for 27 years for promoting capitalism under a red flag? I think being put in solitary confinement is my biggest fear. You're not going to go in solitary confinement unless the revolutionaries take over. Yeah, you're definitely going to be locked up under a revolutionary regime because of all the bullshit that you spread. Here's Shmuley. Even the cops in New York are sick of his shit. You know, I love how people just come out in public. Like, there's nothing more mid than being a counter-protester against the protests that's for a good cause. The only good counter-protests are against fascists and government officials. Like, why the fuck would you come? Aren't you people grown? Don't you have jobs to go to? Don't you have lives to live? Why would you go in public to just yell at other people and get attention for yourself?
Wait a second. No. I'm not going to show them I'm afraid. I'm sorry. We can do it here. I'm not afraid.
Like, look, and you're only big when the police are around. Like, why do you... So you know there's going to be a pro-Palestine demo today. You go to start shit. You're not just randomly walking around down there. You heard or saw on Twitter or Facebook or somewhere else or Instagram that there's going to be a protest. You have your phone out, so you're probably going to start recording. You want them to say something to you. That's why when I was a marshal at that protest the other day, like, we were taught, like, don't allow our people to interact with these folks. That's what they want. That is what they want. They want attention. They want attention. They want to record. They want raw meat for their audience. Don't give it to them. Look at this dude. Like he's a fucking joke. Even the police are getting tired of his shit.
Sir, there's 2.5 million Jews who live in New York, and they're being harassed like this. And
No, they're not. The average Jew isn't fucking studying this shit. The average Jew is concerned about the same shit everybody else is concerned about. Work, kids, school.
they can't walk the streets, and I'm not going to be one of them. I'm sorry. Well, I don't have to go across the street to make a report. I don't know why you guys are there and not making sure that Jews are... I can wear a yarmulke without fear. I don't live in Nazi Germany, with all due respect. I love the NYPD.
You actually do live in Nazi Germany, but not for the reason that you think.
You guys are our heroes, but with all due respect, this has gotten ridiculous. This has gotten ridiculous. Their hatred of the police, their hatred of American freedoms, their hatred of the First Amendment. They harass, they intimidate, and it's unacceptable. And you guys are supposed to be protecting us. I can wear a yarmulke without being attacked. Really? It's not the yarmulke? You know, come on, officer, you know what? The NYPD are smart people. You're not that naive.
Yeah, I love how he's fucking riding the cop's dick. And they're still not fucking studying what he's saying. You lost. This was Old Miss the other day. And people are like talking about the white working class. Like, answer me this. Like, do these people look working class to you? Yeah, you got that dude over there doing a monkey dance and making monkey noises. He's reverting to his European ancestry. He's showing how they behaved in the caves of Europe. Ooh, I know that fucking crowd stinks. It probably smells like all axe and body odor and taint juice. The working class doesn't wear those goofy shorts. Hey, I do. I like showing off my thighs.
What's that?
Mark Hamill brings the force to today's White House press briefing, calling President Biden Joby-Wan Kenobi.
Things don't get exciting in here sometimes.
This woman is an insult to the Haitian people and black people everywhere.
There's no introduction that really is needed here. I have a special guest, as you can see. Mark Hamill has decided to join us on this wonderful Friday, and I am really excited to turn it over to Mr. Hamill. Here we go.
Okay, how many of you had Mark Hamill will lead the press briefing on your bingo card? Hands? Yeah, me either. And look, I just got to meet the president, and he gave me these aviator glasses. Oh, yeah. I love the merch. Love it all. But listen, I just wanted to say I was honored to be asked to come to the White House to meet the president, the most legislative successful president in my lifetime. And, you know, I don't have to go through the list, the bipartisan infrastructure law, the PACT Act, the CHIPS Act, all of that, inflation, 15 million jobs. Look, it's all good. I mean, I was really...
Why would you drag... This is old people abuse. Why would you drag this old done man that looks like he has some type of white people disease out here to do this? Why? The guy that founded the Pinkertons was an admirer of John Brown and a radical abolitionist. This is from Negro Comrades of the Crown by Gerald Horne. Like the best living historian in the United States today. Joe Biden is Jar Jar Binks. No, he's... I was going to say Jabba the Hutt, but that's obviously Trump. I hate those fucking helicopters. Like, how much footage do you have to get? Why do you have to fly over and make that irritating fucking noise? All helicopters will be banned under communism. I believe that we will win. I love St. Louis. Next time you say, dang, must be nuts. Okay, so this person is on a plane. Next time you say, dang, must be nice, you might want to understand a lifestyle that made it possible. 8 to 5 didn't make it. Parking on the couch to watch TV, didn't make it. Sleeping in on Saturdays, didn't make it. Calling in when sick, didn't make it. Leaving early every chance you get, didn't make it. Being content to where we're at, didn't make it. Folding because they talked about you, didn't make it. What made it? It came from 12 to 16-hour days. It came from beating the sun up. It came from working on weekends. It came from sacrificing family time. It came from wanting a little better tomorrow. Bro, just go and sign yourself up for the fucking plantation. Go sign up for the... You want to be a slave so fucking bad? There's still places in this world that have slavery. Hop on the plane and fly to the slavery area and go sign yourself to go, I don't know, fucking run a sand farm or something. Because you're going to work yourself to death. Let's see what she has to say. This lady is a literal baroness.
Turmoil and tension.
Who puts a baron or a baroness? Who puts these fucking joke-ass titles that should have died out in the year 1452 in power?
Division and disruption have impacted the entire community. You, our students, have paid an especially high price.
Because of you.
You lost your final days in the classroom and residence halls. For those of you who are seniors, you're finishing college the way you started, online.
Because of you.
No matter where you stand on any issue, Columbia should be a community that feels welcoming and safe for everyone.
It was welcoming and safe for everyone until you called the fucking cops and had them literally trash half your campus and beat the shit. They literally fired a gun at Columbia the other night inside Hind Hall.
We tried very hard to resolve the issue of the encampment through dialogue.
No, you didn't. You lied.
Many people who gathered there were largely peaceful and
Then why did you call the police on them?
cared deeply about the humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
Unlike you.
Academic leaders talked with students for 8 days and nights.
And what happened?
The university made a sincere and good offer.
No, you didn't.
But it was not accepted.
Because you were full of shit.
A group of protesters crossed.
No, they didn't shoot someone at Columbia. They fired a gun in the building at Columbia. I don't know if it was a negligent discharge or if it was fired in anger into the ceiling. But yes, a weapon was discharged in that building that they stormed.
A new line with the occupation of Hamilton Hall. It was
What do you want to see the video of the gunshot for? Y'all are some morbid motherfuckers. I'm going to just start ignoring chat.
a violent act that put our students at risk, as well as putting the protesters at risk. I walked through the building and saw the damage, which...
Most of it was committed by the police. Like, the police trashed that fucking building. Most of these students, these protesters, are environmentalists. They're not going to leave a fucking mess. Okay? Yeah, they broke some windows. But most of that shit, like, they were literally throwing your property, lady, out of the fucking door. They pushed one of your students down a flight of stairs and made her unconscious. Do you have any bad words for the police in this 3-minute and 11-second passive-aggressive rant that you're going on? Your voice is the most irritating thing I have heard all day. And I literally work at a homeless shelter, and I hear irritating things all the bloody time. But your voice is probably the most irritating fucking thing I've bloody heard ever in my 29 years on this earth.
It was distressing. But despite all that has happened, I have confidence. During the listening sessions I held with many students in recent months, I've been heartened by your intelligence, thoughtfulness, and kindness.
Intelligence, thoughtfulness, and kindness. They're students in an Ivy League university. What the fuck do you expect?
The ones that impressed me the most were those who acknowledged that the other side had some valid points.
Oh, go hang. Fuck you. Bush Stadium needs renovation. Should St. Louis taxpayers kick in? No. Tear it down and build a big honking statue of me. I'm the most famous communist from St. Louis. I need recognition. Fuck Bush Stadium. Long live the Intifada. Oh.
Disrupt, reclaim.
They found the one cop in New York who can read.
Disrupt, reclaim, destroy. Zionist business interests everywhere. Death to Israel real estate. Death to America on school. Long live the Intifada.
It's called Boeing Tea. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to say anything about this one for my own safety. Jerry Seinfeld's wife is funding fucking fascist mobs. Literally. Yep. Those Zionist kids that stormed UCLA the other night, they were organized by a group that's funded by billionaire Bill Ackman and friends, including Jessica Seinfeld, the wife of the erstwhile comedian Jerry Seinfeld. Yep. And of course, they've got King Tom, Eric Adams. He wears a fucking ear stud. He wears a fucking ear stud. He's the most horrible bald black man with an ear stud to ever exist. Normally, bald black dudes with ear studs are cool, but Eric Adams is not cool. Adams regularly called himself a vegan. When Politico reported in 2024 that he ate fish, Adams, according to Parker, initially denied this, and he denied to me, untruthfully, that he ever claimed to be a vegan. Later, Adams said, if I see a piece of chicken, I'm going to nibble on it. In 2021, Adams said he had never boxed before. 2 years later, he boasted that he often boxed when he was younger, doing well in the gym, but quickly getting knocked out in the ring. Maybe that's why he's so stupid. Adams has claimed he was born in Alabama, which is where his mom was born. He himself entered the world in a Park Slope hospital. He claimed his father sometimes took him to see Malcolm X speak. Virtually impossible, since the civil rights leader was assassinated when Adams was 4. Adams has boasted, when I played football for Bayside High School, we used to win championships all the time. He also denied to Parker ever playing football for Bayside. Honestly, he's the perfect mayor for New York, because every New Yorker that I've known has been a big fucking liar. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
BRG.
I went for this. I did an interview with this new podcast run by a couple of white lesbians. Why? Because I don't know. I guess I like supporting smaller creators. But it was fun. She watched the Battle of Algiers, and we talked about it. And something I said apparently caught the attention of one of the hosts.
Say, BRG, you got the stereotype all wrong. Because Henny is for white women. This was here the whole time.
I may be a smaller creator, but I'm not as small as she is.
You didn't even know?
I'm mid. I'm a mid creator.
Yes. You didn't notice when we were on call. I was... white women be tripping off the Henny. They do. You didn't even know. You didn't even know. Didn't even know.
I did not know. I could have guessed because Henny is French. The Maoists have taken over Colombia. Attack when your enemy is weak and you are strong. Political power comes from the barrel of a gun. The countryside surrounds the city. This was written on one of the blackboards in Hamilton Hall. Yes, we're everywhere. This was what she was talking about. They gave this black dude a big ass fucking birthday cake with Henny on top. Kwame Ture and Nina Simone looking pissed as usual. Well, Kwame looks hungry as hell. Mahmoud Darwish. Do not tell me I wish to be a baker in Algeria in order to sing with the revolutionary. Do not tell me I wish to be a shepherd in the Yemen to sing for the uprising of the age. Do not tell me I wish to be a waiter in Havana to sing for the victory of the poor. Do not tell me I wish to be a stone carrier in Aswan to sing for the rocks. My friends, the Nile will not pour into the Volga. The Congo and Jordan rivers will not serve the Euphrates. Each river has its own. Our land is not barren. Each land has its own rebirth. Each dawn has a date with revolution. And with that, I wish you good dreams. Well, actually, I wish you bad dreams. Actually, I wish you no dreams.